obviously privacy is hugely important to you. You're an orange-faced, sunglass-wearing,
This is how
flat cap-wearing individual. But how much can you tell me about your background in terms of what are the triggers to get you to where how you've become who you are? Somebody, we've spent 24 hours with you now. Understand a lot more about what you care about, what you don't care about. You care about privacy. You care about free markets, but you're very practical about it all as well. You're not. I don't feel like you're ideologically driven. You're just almost driven by fairness and proper incentives. Sounds about right. So, like, what led you to here?
Well, I'm a child of the internet, and I've been around on the internet for a long time, and I've cycled through identities over and over. And I think it's a very good thing to do on the internet, because you just open yourself up to the world, basically, and you leave a trace whatever you do. I mean, all my posts from back in the years or whatever, they're still there. So for me, that is important, because I spent a lot of time there. I need to just assure that, I keep my secrets that I want to keep and share with friends that I want to share them with. But I'm also a Bitcoiner, and I think that Bitcoin is extremely important for the freedom of humans. I think, governments come and go, ideologies come and go, but Bitcoin itself is something that will probably outlive these cycles of, group affiliation and trying to impose your views onto someone else. I think it's a technology that we need to protect, and the most important thing that we can do is to assure that everyone who wants to participate in it will be safe. So that means they can stay private if they want to. That everyone is invited to join. We need to be able to welcome every developer in Bitcoin. I think it's literally the lifeline of Bitcoin is education and development. And I think the education part is going great. I think on the development side, we can do a lot better to make better incentives for people to join this community, basically, and start working on it.
What do you think of the loss of developers over the last year or so? Is that concerning you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's a very, very big concern, especially, as a developer myself, it's very dangerous for Bitcoin to see this. I would rather see the number of developers go up steadily, because we literally need every single person out there. Also, this is an outcry. I'm calling everyone listening. If you know a little bit of coding and you just didn't do anything yet for Bitcoin, then start looking into it. Start looking into Cashew. Start looking into whatever you want, but start contributing, because that's how you start. And every single contribution, I think, is valuable. We need to increase the number of developers just exponentially in order to make this project a success. I'm very convinced of that. And so seeing developers leave for different reasons, for example, being sued by some psychopath, for example, is one of the reasons why people choose to leave or not join Bitcoin.
4 years into a lawsuit myself, I can testify that it's horrific, and it's a horrific process to go through. So we need to end that. And I hope more developers come on anonymously, like yourself, so that threat doesn't exist. But I've been concerned by the number of developers leaving. My brother's a researcher on the show, and he keeps bringing it up, saying we should be talking about this more. I know there's some people out there doing good work to try and recruit and incentivize developers, but there's a lot of companies or individuals who hold enough Bitcoin to be able to support more developers, and I wish they would.
It sounds like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah.
It sounds like the best way to manage your risk if you're a large holder of Bitcoin is to invest in development. This is, it's what keeps your money alive, basically. I think for me, I think many whales out there don't know exactly how to help. I've heard that over and over again, that they would wish, but they don't have the rails or don't know where to go and where to start. Probably that's also something that we can improve a lot. There's open sets, for example. It's a foundation. There are multiple. Like, you can go to Brink and give them money, and they will distribute it to developers. I think it's just from a risk management perspective. If you just imagine Michael Saylor has now 140K Bitcoin, how much of that just rational thinking.
How much value is in that? It must be what?
It's like buying a car. You need to keep it maintained, right?
3.6 billion or something?
Something like that.
You got a calculator? Or does he tell you?
Yeah, he tweeted it yesterday. 4.17 billion.
4.17 billion. So it's loose change for
Yes.
Michael. I mean, I'm not going to call him out here. I mean, I don't know if he is doing. I mean, he's doing a lot of stuff for Bitcoin. I'd be interested to know how much he's contributing towards developers, because those developers are like guardians for his 4.175 Bitcoin.
No, it's not calling anyone out. Just think about it. It's just the rational choice that you should consider. If you hold enough Bitcoin, then you should give it to the developers that keep your money alive. This is what every person with a couple of brain cells should really consider.
I recently had Sergey from Bitrefill on the show, and he was very practical with his opinions on Bitcoin, and he was very much talking about utility over ideology. And I know this is something you tweeted about. Danny's giving me. Do you want to bring up the tweet? I'm going to read your tweet.
Mine.
Yes. If you're the reason a pink-haired commie, they, them, doesn't join, use or develop Bitcoin, you're probably an enemy of Bitcoin. You may not think of yourself in that way, but it's true. You fail to separate tiny personal and significant ideology from the bigger goal. Talk to me about this.
I mean, Bitcoin, I think, goes through the cycle that every movement goes through, which is once it grows, it attracts many, many more people that start projecting their ideologies onto the movement. This has happened to the hippie movement, to the anarchist movement, to basically any movement that became large enough. And it's happening with Bitcoin as well. So this is a very natural thing to happen, I think. But I think, once the newcomers start conflating the core idea of Bitcoin, which is to be this immutable monetary system that we're building to escape the fiat system. Once you start conflating that with your ideology, you're putting off potentially half of the planet. And this is just absolutely not compatible with the goals of Bitcoin, which in my mind is to grow as fast as possible before states can co-opt it and take it away from us, basically. So if you're increased, and this is also, again, just a purely rational choice, I think, if you're interested in the success of Bitcoin, what you should do is to welcome everyone who can join. And, this is just a joke. If you're basing that on the color of their hair or the pronouns they use or whatever, then you're clearly missing the point. What you're doing is you're fighting for your own ideology and not for Bitcoin. Because if you thought of Bitcoin, you would be saying, I don't care what you look like, I don't care what you believe. If you want to support Bitcoin, you're my friend. That's how I think of it.
Well, this is why we've worked so hard to try and bring as many progressives into Bitcoin, which sounds counter to what you're doing, but actually is to try and make Bitcoin as open and unideologically driven as possible. Because there is certainly a right-wing / libertarian bent to a lot of to Bitcoin itself and a lot of the ideas regarding Bitcoin. And I think so. We've tried to move the education away from that, but trying to have as wide a range of voices as possible on this show. But I mean, I certainly think I've been guilty of that sometimes. What you said there, and I think taking it back to immutable money, that's all we're trying to do is probably a very good thing.
And we will be stronger if we can separate these ideologies also from the overall goal, because that makes you vulnerable. It can basically, this is also some of the reasons why people leave, is because people start talking about ideology so much instead of the bigger goal of growing Bitcoin. I think, again, the most important thing is that the number of Bitcoiners goes up, and I don't care what they believe in their daily lives. I literally don't care. I mean, because it's not interesting.